Hey guys, Jen with Astro T. Today we are talking about what's coming up mid-month, starting on the 14th, and I am calling this pretty much the battle of good and evil, malefics against benefics. So we have the Mars, Jupiter conjunction, and that's down here in Gemini. See, we have Mars and Jupiter in conjunction, and that will be squaring Venus and squaring Saturn, making what we call a T-square. And then we have up here the moon. So we'll get into all of it and we'll break it all down. So this is going to start around, again, the 14th and go till the 22nd, with a little pre-period, a little post-period, of course. So take 3 days before and after. So we have a nice gentle start to the month. We had the full moon in Leo, that all eyes on me, you know, who's coming out into the spotlight. And but as the 14th comes along, all eyes are really going to start looking at this Mars here that's coming into conjunction with Jupiter. So that's benefic coming into conjunction with malefic, or opposite. So anyway, and then they square retrograde on the 16th. So Venus is completing the T-square again at just give or take 3 degrees. So, and then becoming fully square with Jupiter and opposing Saturn on the 19th. So that's, of course, you know, the big day. That's that, yes, that fateful day when everything's happening. We have when the Jupiter square Saturn becomes exact, the Sun square Uranus, the full moon in Aquarius, and it's the first day of the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. So lots of stuff going on. We're going to focus on the days prior to the 19th with this video, though. So again, battle of malefics versus benefics. Who's going to come out on top, and how do we figure that out? So let's get into it. Mars in Gemini has, you know, just don't like Mars and Gemini. It's done me really dirty. It's done me dirty in the past. It's in my 6th house. So on a personal level, you want to see where this falls in your chart, because with this, you know, anything good, bad, and different that's in your chart is going to be emphasized, especially if it's on one of your angles or conjunct to your luminaries or your personal planets. So mine, it's in my 6th house of, you know, health, pets, everyday routines, and work. Well, the last time that Mars was in Gemini was in 2022, and if you guys have watched my videos before, then you'll know I've talked about I had 2 cats that got killed. Then Mars ended up going retrograde, and I adopted the 2 cats that I have now, which have been prominent in a lot of my videos when we're inside, so they're not allowed to come outside. So I came to adopt those 2 little monsters during the retrograde, so it's kind of going back and then, you know, restarting again. So this one is aggressive in another different way. So doing my, you know, mundane tasks that I do around the house. One of them is mowing. I help my husband mow the lawn, and I have gotten stung by bees 3 times in the past 2 weeks. So it's just been awful. So it's just, you can see that aggression doing your everyday routines, and so it's just, you don't know how it's going to play out, but that seems to be how it's playing out for me during the Mars Jupiter conjunction, and that's really close to my Saturn. So that's a little terrifying. So I'll get swarmed and who knows what, end up in the hospital. Hope not anyway. But anyway, look at your chart, see where this stuff plays out for you. I'm going to tell this on a more, you know, national scale and see what's going on for our nation. So on September 4th, that moves out. So it will move out of Gemini. So we have until then. I can't wait. It's not going to come soon enough. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Tell me where it is in your chart. Tell me how it's been affecting you. Is Mars your major malefic? Because it is to me. So its conjunction on the 14th with Jupiter at 16 degrees of Gemini, just before Mercury, we have sneaking back into Leo. So leaving its sign of dignity of Virgo. So everything else aside, the Mars-Jupiter conjunction, get rid of this whole T-square that it's involved in, can actually be a good thing, so this is like, big actions and going for it and going for the gold, and a lot of, with the Olympics going on right now, can do a lot with that. You're using that sport, you're using that action, that competitive nature, and going above and beyond. That is a lot to do with that. So during the Olympics, really, really good. But with these squares added in here, it gives it a little more color than that. So it can point to overdoing things, overestimating things, spreading yourself really too thin. It can open up a lot of possibilities though, because in Gemini, air, ideas, communication, information, learning all you can, and just going for what you want. But Mars, unfortunately, comes out as the stronger planet in this conjunction because we have Jupiter here in its detriment in Gemini. So and Mars is not in its detriment, so it's a little bit stronger of a planet. So in this case, I think the aggression of Mars is going to win out a little bit. So Mars in that conjunction can be overly preachy. It kind of brings out that bad in Jupiter a little bit. Overly preachy, unwavering in our convictions, to the point where things can get out of hand, and and things can go way over the top. So we do see things, flaring up around the world now with all the different, with everybody's different way of thinking and their convictions, and they're putting their convictions, and we have the protests, things, and I think this might get a lot exacerbated with this conjunction. This can really lead to increased aggression, which is, again, concerning because we already have 2 wars going on and very, very passionate views and very polarizing sides. So not many people are kind of hovering in the middle. You're either way one way or way the other way. And that's kind of where we get a little bit, it gets a little bit nervous there. So, we have the protests, infighting because of this expressing of convictions and not listening to the other side. So Mercury moving out of its home sign of Virgo and back into Leo, it's in its retrograde, so it's moving backwards. So going into that Leo, that fire sign. So again, that's bringing out the fire, our passions, our ideas are re-expressed, re-communicated, and explaining, it could be in an explosive or shocking manner. So I wouldn't be surprised seeing a lot of shocks and surprise news coming out because you're going back and you're bringing things back from the past with that Mercury retrograde. And we want to remember, especially, and definitely go back and watch my Mercury retrograde video. I can put a link in this one that is about when it's going to do the 3 hits squares to Uranus. So we already saw with the first one what that did with the outage, the largest outage there that happened, and then we had Joe Biden pretty much coming down from and doing that via Twitter. So and him kind of getting out of the race for presidency for the next election, and doing that over Twitter. And so that's again with that communication and something shocking coming out in kind of an odd communicative way. That's really a Uranus thing, I think. So, and now this is going to happen again. It's going to re-square Uranus on, I think it was the 19th, which is the first day of the convention, or actually I think it's the 18th. Gonna have to recheck that, but it's one of those two. Anyway, doesn't have to be exact because it does, have that build up and things that you find out in advance. So, when this re-squares, what revelations, what things are going to come out with the next square that happens as Mercury is going retrograde in Leo, that bringing something to light. It's going back to bring something into the light, to bring messages into the light, to go back and find something to illuminate with that with the sun sign of Leo. So as the conjunction of Mars and Jupiter moves into its square with Saturn, so with that, we can expect to see and feel a lot of frustration, setbacks, hurdles that can actually become painful, because a Mars squaring Saturn can really cause accidents, sudden stops. How do you suddenly stop? You know, because you crash, or because something like that might happen. We can also see, you know, the Saturn, that stopping power that's proving its authority or just using its authority. So we might see a lot of arrests, you know, maybe stopping the escalations. You know, with these protests, we might see more people being arrested instead of like them letting it go on, because Saturn kind of wants to put a stop to it. Saturn in Pisces, though, has us on a shaky ground, because, you know, that's that water sign, and Saturn is, you know, more of that firm Capricorny, like you want a firm foundation. But in Pisces, it's just that, you know, a very untrustworthy foundation. And then the T-square, again, Mars and Jupiter, and then Venus in Virgo, and then Saturn in Pisces, both benefics are in detrimental signs, because Venus in Virgo is in the sign of its detriment, not until it moves into to Venus or into Libra. But right now we have both benefics in the sign of their detriment, and both malefics are in, you know, a decent, they're not, look, you know, in too bad of a way. So in the US Sibley chart, so this is one that I really was looking at, and this is kind of where this all gets me a little bit nervous. So Mars and Jupiter is actually in the 7th house, so of the US Sibley chart, and that is of enemies, the seen enemies, and then it's squaring Venus in the 10th house, so that is government leaders, prominent people. Venus, that female sign, is you know, and who's a female leader right now that's really standing out? It's Kamala Harris. So I think that could have a lot to do with her. She's headed, you know, kind of heading the government up right now, because Biden's really taken a step back while she's kind of, you know, being in the forefront. So, and then we have Venus in the 10th house again. Then we have, you know, women, Venus. So then we have Saturn in the US Sibley house 4th chart. That's traditions, our homeland, and all on the angles. So all the angles, if you have these conjunctions, these heavy aspects happening on the angles, that's what you really want to look at, because that is going to be most influential. So that, you know, and then we have the moon is in the 1st house. So all this is happening in the 4 angles of the US Sibley chart. And the 1st house is the people and the agenda of the country. Something really kind of terrifying that I just heard is my husband was hearing about stocks and things like that, and that the stock skyrocketed for the largest defense contractor in the United States, just skyrocketed, where everything else kind of plummeted. So when that happens, they say that that could mean that we're going into a war, because this is defense contractor, this is, you know, making of weapons and that type of thing. And that's terrifying, especially with all these, you know, all this stuff going on in the US chart. You know, we see there at the, you know, the Pluto return too, don't forget about that. That's really showing this big transformation for the United States. So that is a little terrifying, especially with everything coming up, all these intense aspects happening all at once. Something, you know, I'm afraid that something bad could happen, like with last time with the we had, you know, them shooting at Trump, and that was a huge aspect. Well, now is it going to be something even worse? So we'll see about that. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Hopefully just interesting and not horrifying. So anyway, it's just, I always find it very interesting when my husband tells me these things that he hears that are really more kind of, you know, normal everyday person logical, and then I tie my astrology into it, and then it all just kind of blends together, because it does it all when you look at it, and when you look at what's going on around the world and just in all the news, everything does kind of just blend together, and it starts making sense that, you know, okay, astrology is working here, and it is really, you know, kind of playing us like marionettes down here. So it looks like, you know, again, moreover, something with Kamala Harris, because we have those two feminine signs. We have the moon in the first chart and the Venus going through the 10th house of leaders, you know, and like feminine leaders even. So with emphasis on women in power, squaring the needs of the people and the homeland and your enemies. So that almost makes me think, you know, it could be, you know, these are enemies that we know. Are they, you know, getting into the United States, into our actual homeland? Could we see attacks from within our own country, even, you know, from people that are coming in? You know, we hear a lot about what goes on at the border, so it could be something like that even. So anyway, I wouldn't also be surprised too, that just with Kamala Harris in general, that there is a drop in her sudden popularity. So just kind of happening almost as fast as she gained the popularity. So she just, you know, all of a sudden went from 0 to 100 with that, when Biden dropped out, and then, you know, kind of appointed her as the new candidate. And then, you know, so that she kind of skyrocketed in that. And I see that maybe that popularity might kind of, wane as fast as it kind of blew up. So because we do have the Mercury retrograde, and, you know, so we see bringing up stuff from the past. That's what Mercury retrograde does, almost diminishing her light in a way. So as to, you know, we rethink and we remember, okay, well, wait a minute. This is some things that we might want to remember and we might not want to forget about. So I think that there might be a little something there. I think that her heightened popularity might wane a little bit. So this could be a shock and a surprise with, you know, this second Mercury-Uranus square. Because, you know, who knows what could come out and how this will all play out. And especially with that happening right before the DNC, it could be big changes that we see coming through here. I would expect also rediscoveries to really break open those cracks in the foundation, and that Pisces foundation that, you know, Saturn is sitting on right now is already kind of shaky. So it's already kind of like this, and I think it could really, you know, not be good. And then of course, it doesn't all have to be about the government, because we have Mars and Jupiter in Gemini, that's an air sign, and then we have Saturn in Pisces, and that's that volatile air and water. And so, and then we have the Earth, which is where Venus is, and then we have you know, the moon, if you do that just the one day, but the moon moves really quickly, so that doesn't always last. But so we have like the three elements kind of working together. So I think hurricane season is really going to come, and it's really going to be intense. I think you know, it already, we are seeing them starting. We did see a hurricane come already, and that was early, and that kind of was brought on you know, with all these transits. And now we're, you know, I think we're going to see it really ramp up. It is hurricane season, so that's not really a surprise, and it's not really like a far-fetched thing, but I think it might, you know, some things could be a little bit worse than, you know, things that have happened in the past. So so that is about it for these couple days. I think we need to start getting ready. We have a lot of videos coming up, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because we're going to, we have a lot of volatile stuff coming up. We're going to really get into it and really break it all apart. We have, we still have the full moon in Aquarius that we want to talk about, that's happening on the same day as the Jupiter Saturn square. We have the Mars Uranus or Mercury Uranus, a second conjunction while Mercury is retrograde. Lots coming up. Hit that notification bell, you guys, and let me know what you want me to get into a little bit more. Just got a date or a time for JD Vance's, so I was kind of looking into his chart a little bit, kind of interesting there. So lots going on, and I hope you guys will stay with me. I will see you soon. Bye.